Hi, I'm Father George, Episcopal priest, Ford truck enthusiast, and smoked brisket champion. And today, Copper and I would like to share with you our experience changing the front door lock actuator on our 2014 Honda Odyssey. Now, Honda makes a great vehicle. They last forever. We've had this one for over 8 years, and it's got over 225,000 miles on it. And over the years, I've owned 2 other Odysseys and an Accord, all to high mileage, just like this one. And I've changed door lock actuators on all of them. So Honda, if you're out there, if you're listening, your transmission used to be the weak link. You seem to have gotten that fixed, so good job. But now you need to do some work on these actuators, because this is the second one I've changed in this vehicle already. Well, so anyway, this is a pretty easy job, very straightforward. The hardest part about it is the tight space. It's hard to see, it's hard to get your hands in there to work. But we'll get some stuff out of the way and make it just a little bit easier. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so to get the door panel off, we just have to remove some trim screws. There's a couple of screws back behind this cover here. We'll remove that. There is a screw up under here that we've got to take off. And then one that is just below the door handhold there. There's a screw up under here. Philip said that we'll need to remove. And that's it. That cover just pops off. And we'll remove those 2 screws. Okay, then to get this cover off, there's a small notch right here where you can get a small screwdriver or a small plastic pry tool if you have one. That'll pop that up like that. And then I would use a plastic pry tool to pop that up the rest of the way. And that just comes right out. And there is the screw we have to remove there. And then finally, this screw down here. Okay, so now that we've got the screws out, need to get this switch panel off. There's just this one connector here, and it's pretty easy. You just gotta tab there. You can push down, release this little lever. That lever then opens up and pops that right out. If this were the driver's side door, this connector is a little bigger, but it has another connector for the mirror controls that you would also have to take off. It's pretty easy to get that one off too. All right, now before we take off the door, we need to take off this piece of trim here. It just pulls straight off. That'll make it easier to get the door off without damaging anything. Normally, you can just get this you can get your fingers back there. If not, a pry tool would be helpful. That just pops off. Oop, we're going to need that later. And you can disconnect. There's a little connector there if you want to get that out of the way so you don't break that wire. My thumb up in there. Get that out. Move that off to the side. That little pin just came out, so I'm going to pop it back in. Okay, now with the screws out and all the stuff out of the way, we can take the door panel off. You just pull it off. You don't need any tools for this. Just reach up under here. There's a little detent in the door there, a place for you to get your fingers. And we're gonna just pull that out like so. And now we can lift the door off. It's connected to the 2 wires. 2 cables for the door handle and lock, the door release and the lock. And I'll get those off. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. And then there's a light power cable. Powers a light, door light. And we will disconnect that as well. There we go. So to take these off, it was a little hard to see when I was pulling the door off, so I thought I'd show you here. We'll start with the bottom one here. There's a clip here that we'll just pull back out of the way, like so. And now that can come up out of the groove. And then you just rotate this. There's a little notch right there. You just rotate that until it comes off. This one here is the same way, except it's just kind of upside down. You got to pull that that clamp back, and it pushes down and comes back. And the easiest way I found to get this off is actually just to take the whole mounting point here off, like so. All right, now we just need to get that vapor barrier pulled back and out of the way so we can access what we need to here. You take out this plug here. There we go. And now this is on with some adhesive. It's pretty strong. You might need to use a heat gun to soften it up if it's being particularly tough. But here in Southeast Texas, we have a really powerful heat gun. It's called Outside. So I doubt I'll be needing this. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, that's pretty soft. It's pulling right off. And that should reapply. All right, pull those through. There we go. That's as far back as we need to get that. Okay, so to take the door latch assembly out, it's pretty simple. It's held in with a small screw there that we're going to take out, as well as these three here. So we're going to remove those. But the frame for the track for the window that goes down into the door when the window goes down is in the way. And so we need to remove it. Let's see if we can get a look at what that looks like. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen there, that's the door latch assembly that we're going to be taking out. And right there in the middle of the screen is the a track for the window. And you can see the foam rubber part on the inner part of that track that the window goes up and down and moves in. Behind that is a steel frame or a steel track that sits in. We're going to unbolt that track from the door so that we can move it. And it just couples in. You can kind of see up at the top up there where it kind of couples into the next part of the track that goes up the door frame. We're just going to, that just pulls out of there, and we're just going to pull it down enough so that we can bend the foam rubber piece and not damage it, but get it back out of our way so we can get our door lock, our door latch assembly out of there. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove this bolt here. This is a 10 millimeter socket. So this is 10 millimeters also. Just going to loosen that, take that out. And now that frame is free to move. And you can see that I'm able to bend that back and pull down just a little further. You can see how that slid up through the frame there. Just a little bit further. And now I'm just going to pull this back out of the way. And so there's that frame. Now that that's done, I'm just going to disconnect that cable. A little button up at the top to push to get that out. Very easy. None of this should be in our way, so we should be able to take care of that. I'm going to go ahead and remove that screw. Okay, so now I'm going to remove these three here. These are T30s. Of course, verify that in your own vehicle. Who knows if different years or models, that's different. But in mine, those are T30s. Pretty easy to verify. These can be fairly tight. So if they're too tight, you could use a impact wrench if you needed to. Snug. Okay, so now the door latch assembly in there is loose. It is hanging from this latch, but you can see that metal rod there, that is a linkage to the door handle on the outside. We've got to get that unhooked. So you can see this latch right here is on this rod, and we're just going to rotate that pop that off the rod and rotate it out of the way, and that should let the door latch assembly drop down into the door. So I'm just gonna, there it goes. You can see how that rotates up. There we go, and that'll let the whole door latch assembly drop down where we can get it out. All right, so the door latch assembly is there. I just need to get these cables now off of that and this, and we can pull it out of there. Awesome. All right, so here's the old door latch assembly, and here's the new one. We're gonna take this cover and these two cables off of the old and stick them on the new, as well as set up this linkage on the new assembly. I'll show you that in a second, and then we'll be ready to put it back in.
You're such a good boy.
All right, there's that. And these just come out, pop that out there, and this one you can twist this way, come straight out. Put that back in here, like so. And then this one just kind of snakes out of it. There we go. And that goes back in here the same way. Pops in there. All right, and you can see how that piece of plastic goes on to retain the linkage. That little piece goes over like that. Okay. You go through there. All right, so I'm gonna try to feed this up in here. Put the actuator up here. There we go. And then that stabs in there. Don't fall. Don't fall. Oop. Almost fell. That goes in place, and then that just snaps down. That little green latch just snaps down over it again. Just rotated that down on top of it. Put one of those screws in to hold this thing in place. Okay, so now that we have the door latch assembly in place, just need to put the window track back in place as well. So I'll put it back where it goes, and then just have to slide that metal frame back up, the foam rubber insert, until it gets seated into place. All right, now we just need to put the door back together. So make sure the cables are snapped into their holders. And we're gonna feed the light cable, the door light cable through there. We're gonna feed the door latch cables through there. Oh, put that cover back on. Hopefully there's enough adhesive there. Gonna put that back on. There we go. Connect the door light and connect the cables from the door latch assembly. Now when we are ready to put these back on, we'll put this one back on first. You could just snap that back into its boss there, and then you've got to get this behind the clamp, as you see there, in that little groove, and pressed into this spot, and then clamp it into place. And this one, the same kind of thing. You're gonna bring this around till that falls into place like that. Go on the other side of the clamp, put it into the groove, and snap it into place. All right, all done. Well, that's it. I hope you found this enjoyable and useful. Remember, life is short. We do not have much time to gladden the hearts of those around us. So be swift to love, make haste to be kind. And until next time, Copper and I are saying goodbye and God bless you.